What does citizenship even mean? It's a piece of paper. So you mean you take a piece of processed tree and slap a name on it and that gives you your identity? Jews in Germany had German on their passport, but that didn't last because clearly they were burned in the Holocaust and those passports were burned with them. As a Jew growing up in the diaspora, both of my parents were first generation born in France, but all of my grandparents had been born in different countries: Morocco, Algeria, Poland, Belgium, and I realized that we actually were never from those places. Those were places that we stopped along the path of our displacement. And all of my grandparents' families had been exterminated and persecuted for being Jewish in those lands. And so I realized that we were not Moroccan, we were not Algerian, we were not from Poland or from Belgium. We were actually from another place that eventually led us to a displacement in those areas. When someone was asking me where I was from, all these different sub-questions, where were you born, grew up, lived in, traveled to, resided in, were all different answers for me. When they were asking me where I was from, they really wanted to know what people, land, and civilization can I connect you to. I was born in France, I moved to Israel, and then I moved to Miami. And when I was growing up in Miami, no one identified as American. Even if you were first, second, third generation born in Miami, you identified by where your parents or grandparents had been born. And so I was raised in a society where everyone was identifying as Argentinian, Venezuelan, Colombian, Haitian, Jamaican, Cuban. I was labeled the French kid. But I realized that when I was in France, I wasn't seen as a French person. And so when someone asks me where I'm from, I immediately say that I'm from Israel. They're not asking me the question of where I was born, where I grew up, where I've lived in, where I've traveled to, where I've resided in, what passport I have, where my parents or my grandparents had been born. They're asking me, where do I belong?
What if you aren't Israeli or don't have Israeli citizenship? How do you fit that in?
What does citizenship even mean? It's a piece of paper. So you mean you take a piece of processed tree and slap a name on it and that gives you your identity? Jews in Germany had German on their passport, but that didn't last because clearly they were burned in the Holocaust and those passports were burned with them. So a piece of paper or your quote-unquote citizenship or your status in a legal system that may change from one moment to the next is not what gives you your identity.
So how does that relate to converts?
A convert in Judaism is different to a convert in religions. A convert to Christianity or to Islam or Buddhism is literally someone who within a few seconds accepts the deity and ideology, and by nature of accepting this, they become a part of that religion. When someone wants to become a Jew, they're not just accepting Hashem and the Torah, they're going through an age-old ritual process of grafting yourself into an ancient history, becoming part of the Jewish people. Similar to other indigenous peoples, Native Americans also have a process in which one can become a Native American. It takes several years, and also one sees themselves as grafting into an ancient civilization. They adopt the identity, the history, the culture, the value system, the traditions, the language, the spirituality, the purpose, the connection to a land, and the collective responsibility that one has now that they become part of that people. Once you become a Jew, the history of the Jewish people becomes your history. The future of the Jewish people becomes your future.